Welcome back to R for Economics. Today we're going to be talking about rounding. So we all know how to round. Well, we round up and we round down. So we have a variable which has decimals and a vector which has decimals. Well, how do those round? Let's just make sure that that's what we're expecting. If we round u, we get 3, and if we round b, we get what we normally expect. Now, if we want to have some digits, so we don't want to have it round to the nearest integer, we want to round it to something with decimal places. Well, we just add the condition that we want 2 digits. And there we go. We've got 3.14 and 2.29, so on and so on. If we want to round down every single time, and we don't want to use the decimal place, we just want to round down, this can happen when you're in situations where you just need an integer value, but not above the highest number. So here we'd have the floor and the floor. These are all rounded down. In the ceiling, we can see that the ceiling goes up. So 3.14 becomes 4 and 2.28 becomes 3. So it's rounded up. So it's to the nearest integer above. Now, how does this differ from round? Well, let's look at the v vector with round minus floor. Well, we can see that 2 were higher in round. So those were rounded up. And in round v minus ceiling v, we can see that 4 of them were actually rounded down. So if we round with 0 digits, well, that's the same as what we had before without any conditions. If we want to round the other way, so that we actually want to round to the nearest tens, then we can round, and we see that 3 rounded to the nearest 10 is 0, because 0 is the closest tens. What about over here? Well, 2 is pretty close to 0 compared to 10. And likewise for 3, 7 would round up to 10. And 23 would round down. 80 would round down, and 184 would round up to 150. We can look at all the other conditions. We got argument truncate as well, trunc, which will just truncate the variable where you need it. Here we're going to look at a special case where we have a 0.5. 7.5 rounds to 8. That makes sense. That's what we've been taught in grade school. When we go to 8.5, we get 8. Wait a second, that's odd. When R encounters a 0.5, a perfect 0.5, it rounds to the nearest even number every single time. So if you definitely want it to round up every time it hits a 0.5, what you have to do is add a very small amount to the variable. This usually won't affect any of the overall mechanism of the model, but it will ensure that you don't round down when you want to round up at a perfect 0.5. So we can make this function Excel round, because that's what Excel does, and we can run it. 7.5 goes up to 8, 8.5 goes up to 9. Great, that's what we were expecting before. Empty cars, let's bring in our database. Empty cars, we know what it looks like. Now we're going to generate a variable called rounded weight. So the weight variable is here, and so this should round up, up, and down. So we can actually generate an entire series, which is the rounded version of the weights. Round, empty cars. There we go. Now we've got the rounded weight variable. And all it does is it's rounded these variables up. Okay, great. And we'll see you in the next video.